Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this.
But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United, the National League, are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sunday service. Joining me today was Dan, but he seems to have disappeared from his screen, so I'm sure he'll be back in a moment. And Sarah. Hiya, Sarah. How are you?
Hello, you all right?
Yeah, very well, thank you. So we're going to kind of just discuss a bit of your news, which I might have jumped the gun ever so slightly because a couple of months ago I saw the post asking for Premier League volunteers, and I put your name forward for the Her Game 2, and then I realised, oh, hang on a minute, that's 2032, not now.
36 months.
36. Sorry, my maths just lost me all of a sudden there. But tell us a little bit about it. I know it's something we've kind of said you should be involved with before anyway, and you kind of are, even though you weren't officially involved in it. You're obviously, you come to football a lot. Obviously, you in the nicest meaning, you're not going to let people get away with anything because that's who you are, and quite rightly too as well. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but tell us a little bit about the whole thing for anyone who has missed every single time I've mentioned it on the podcast, because it's been a couple of times, I'm sure.
All right. Well, Her Game 2 is a sort of a campaign that was started by 12 female football fans about a year ago. Basically, they were sick of sexist abuse and behaviour that they come across at football. A lot of people think it doesn't really happen anymore. Unfortunately, it still does. There's a lot of people out there who think football is a man's game. They don't want women there. Would make women feel unwelcome. Chanting stuff that makes women feel quite uncomfortable and sometimes unsafe, and things like that, and worse. So this basically is firstly sort of to raise awareness that this stuff is actually happening, because, like I said, there's a lot of people who think it doesn't exist or it's not really a problem anymore. But also just to let everyone know it's not acceptable to kind of do stuff to make it go away. So that's what we're all about. And Her Game 2 is sort of in the process of recruiting an ambassador for each club, or I want to say each club. Any football club can partner up with Her Game 2. We want as many as possible. And the ambassador's job is to kind of be a link person between the campaign's league team and the football clubs, and do things like take the lead on organising Her Game 2 dedicated fixtures, where there can be sort of a bit of a song and dance made about it at a home match, and posters up, girls teams on the pitch, that sort of thing. We're looking at doing one of those for something next season, but I'm getting ahead of myself there a little bit. So I've recently, when I say recently, I mean about 2 weeks ago, become the ambassador. So I'm still kind of feeling my way around what we're going to do, what the plans are. I've been sort of talking to the club a bit about what we're going to do. And that's pretty much where we're at the moment with it. So we're very early stages at Sutton, but the club's very much on board with it. There's some brilliant people at the club, and they're really kind of keen to be involved, which is really great.
Yeah, I mean, I did not with Jim, I wasn't moaning, but earlier in the season I kept seeing other clubs jumping on. I was like, this is the kind of thing we normally and we should be all over. And I sort of mentioned it to Dave, and he was like, oh, there is just so much stuff that we kind of have to get done. It's just something that we can't do anything yet. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to let it slide this season. I'm glad you mentioned they're going to do it for next season.
Yeah, I mean, we are like, I don't know if you've seen. I know you saw, Mike, actually, but Gabby Howell from the women's team. She's been speaking out a bit about some of the abuse that she's got.
Mm-hmm.
There was an article, I think it was the Mirror, one of the tabloids. Anyway, it was actually a pretty good article.
Yeah.
And she was kind of speaking out about how she gets a lot of comments like, you only get picked because of your looks, you're not any good at football, and absolute rubbish like that, because she's a brilliant player, so that's absolute rubbish. But she's we kind of want to link with her and other members of the women's squad as well, and kind of get them involved, and she's quite keen to be involved. It's really good. Excellent.
Don't tell her she's good. Big-headed. We'll keep that low. Yeah, she there was one thing I saw, the picture of her and Darcy at Wembley, and some of the comments underneath it, and Dan, I'm sure you're going to say similar to me, is they were like, oh, bloody stupid women taking pictures, just they're only interested in selfies at football. And I'm scrolling through my phone thinking, oh shit, I don't want to see all this stuff, because there's about 1,000 photos of I'm here at Wembley. It was just mad. So I have actually said to her, I tend to go into dad mode, and I'd step out of the comments on their photos, because some of them are just ridiculous and outrageous. But again, like you said, it's not happening because we don't hear it. And I've said this before, I don't hear it because I'm sitting there concentrating on my little square of existence, watching the game. Dan, your thoughts? You know about the campaign as well? Do you want to take yourself off mute, mate? No, we've lost Dan. Right, Dan's going to come back in and he'll give us his thoughts any second. But it kind of it links into. I know there was a comment on the forum about, well, what about this group who doesn't get a lot of representation? But none of these groups fighting for equalities are fighting each other. It's to make football welcome to everyone. You're not going to say, well, do you know what? As long as women are welcome at football, I don't care about A, B, and C other groups. If football's a welcoming place, it's going to be a welcoming place for everyone, surely, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, to be honest, these things kind of go together. For example, a lot of homophobia is rooted in misogyny. Like, this stupid idea that gay men act like women and that makes them inferior. Ridiculous. On many levels, that's ridiculous. We want that's what we're all about. Like you said, we want everyone to be welcome at football. It's just that this campaign is focusing on sexism and misogyny, because if you don't focus on one thing, then you kind of don't get anything done. There are other campaigns focusing on, for instance, combating racism, etc. And I think some of the comments on the forum, they had a good point. Should be doing more to make all sort of marginalised groups of people welcome at football. It's just that that's not specifically what this campaign is about, but absolutely we do want everyone to be welcome, and if there's anything that we can do to do that, we're very keen to work with any other groups who are doing that as well.
Yeah, I think once you get into the mindset of certain things aren't acceptable. Now, you and I have had conversations privately about certain language and terms that are used and where they've come from, and their meanings possibly could have changed over the years, was my defence. But it's not a case of saying, well, no, you mustn't enjoy yourself. It's a case of, well, you can enjoy yourself slightly different ways. The fact that I'm enjoying the football doesn't mean that you have to not enjoy the football. Just a silly example is loads of people love bloody flares, these pyrotechnic things. I hate them. I think they're literally burning money. You set that off next to me, I'm not enjoying myself. You might think it's wonderful, but I'm not enjoying myself. So all these kind of things, it's just concentrating on everyone enjoying themselves, not just myself enjoy myself. And it does lead on to what I was saying about not being able to hear, is something that happened yesterday. Again, not her game too, But there was clearly a comment in the crowd yesterday that was heard by Omar, we now know. At first, a lot of the Barrow fans, well, the first comment I saw was, I didn't hear it, I hope it's not true. And I was like, that's the attitude it has to be, is I didn't hear it, I hope it's not true. Not I didn't hear it, therefore it didn't happen. Dan, do you want to try and jump in again, or we gonna... No, it's gone, mate.
I can always type the messages in.
Yeah, I can lip read. So, all right, Dan, thanks for trying, buddy. Okay. So, yeah, it's what I was trying to say is where you stand and where I stand, there's quite a few people in between us. But we stand fairly close in our little section of the ground. But there's no way you or I can say we heard everything that was being said by all those people in between us. One person, maybe you can hear everything they're saying. Hello, Mr. Frake, if you're listening. But other than that, we can't hear every single other person. So if someone said something, I'm not going to say, I didn't hear it, it didn't happen. I would possibly be like, that's quite unusual for Sutton, or I can't comment because obviously I'd be gutted if it did happen. But yeah, suddenly lots of Barrow fans were again with the whole "it didn't happen" business. I don't know. Have you seen any of the comments?
Not those ones, no.
Yeah,
I did see the club's response, which I thought was very good.
Swift action. The police had video. They identified, took the person off straight away, and was arrested. So yeah. The action from the club and the police, fantastic, and the referee, in fairness, as well, didn't. It was a bit unclear at the time what was going on, but in hindsight, the referee knew exactly what was going on, and he took absolutely right action. But hopefully, it's horrible because obviously I'm a certain person and I don't get a lot of these comments. So hopefully,
you mean you're a white man?
I'm a white man, so yeah, I don't get all these kind of comments directed to me, so I can't possibly tell how people feel about these things. But hopefully, Omar can kind of just realise that it was 1, 2, maybe a couple of people out of a crowd of 3,000. It is diminishing. I said to Ahmed yesterday, growing up in the 80s, I can absolutely assure you this is diminishing. It doesn't make it any easier when it happens, but it is getting less and less and less.
No, and I saw a lot of comments responding to Omar saying things like that. Oh, it's just a minority. It's getting better, and I'm like, that's good. I mean, I think a lot of people sort of trying to reassure him. I'm sure he's also aware of that himself, but I think that we need to remember that it only takes one comment like that to really make someone feel unsafe, unwelcome, and it must be incredibly upsetting when that happens. To be, I don't know what was said exactly, but I can imagine it was some not very nice words, the sort of words that shouldn't be in the English language, and I can imagine it might make someone feel quite upset for quite a long time, and I think we need to remember that as well. I mean, you're right. It is nice to know that it's better than it was, but we've still got quite a long way to go. I think.
Yeah, it doesn't. Street crime is a lot lower than it was, but if I walk outside and someone punches me right in the face, it's still going to hurt and it's still going to affect me. Even if people go, well, not that many people get it nowadays. It's a longer term thing. It's like actually it's good news, but it's still going to affect. So
it still happened to you, and it still happens.
It's still horrid, but. It takes us onto the game. So, I mean, Barrow did survive, and this person who made that comment of, I really hope it's not true, did say it's kind of taken a little bit away from the day, which is a shame for them because they did all this background noise. I think Dan's here.
Hello.
Dan. Hey,
can you hear me?
He's here. Yes, we can.
Finally it works.
Your voice.
God.
So. You've missed all the important stuff.
All really, the serious stuff. I'm sat here like a div with no microphone, listening to you talk about important issues. And there's this mug just sat there staring stupidly into my camera. Wonderful.
No worries. So
great value again, Dan.
Well, you're here to talk about the football now.
Disconnect.
So I was just getting to the point that I think it was under one of your threads that there was the guy who'd said he hoped it wasn't true, and if it was going to spoil what was an important day for Barrow staying up. Yeah, we've kind of made a point on that, but it was a difficult match, wasn't it? Let me ask Sarah about the first half.
Mike has done. To anyone who's listening, Mike has done this to take the piss out of me because the hourly train from Lancaster to Barrow that would have got in just after 2, perfect. The ground's 10 minutes from the station, was cancelled. So my train got in after 3, quite a lot after 3, because the previous one was cancelled. So a lot of people trying to get this one. It was a 2-coach train. And then when I got there, I had to find a ticket, and the turnstiles were closed. The ticket office was locked. And I had to find someone to help me. So I saw probably about 15 to 20 minutes of the first half. And that's why Mike's asking me. Thank you, Mike. It was rubbish what I did see, actually.
What Sarah said.
Okay, so that's the first half. No, we had the wind, and I did to sort of wonder if we weren't making the most of it in the first half. With Dean's kicks, they were going really, really long, apparently. What were your thoughts that we just got through it, or should we have done more?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to tell because they've covered the away end now. So you've got, whereas it used to be an open terrace, you could tell what the weather was like, a roof on it and everything else. So you're quite, so it just felt like a sunny day from the corner on the far end that they were like bent over at an angle, and that they're barreling down the ground. So yeah, we didn't really make the most of it. The pitch wasn't great either. It was looked very hard and very patchy and very bobbly. So it was a bit difficult to get the ball down and play a bit. And also, if you're going long with that wind, it just was either just carrying straight out of play a lot of the time. The only time we ever got near it was the one of their guys, Michels and Omar. But it was kind of because everything happened so quickly, you had to make a quick sort of snap decision, and it decided to try and go over the keeper, and it sailed miles over. So yeah, the first half was a bit. It was one of those games we just didn't get a foothold in. Really, no one really took sort of charge of things, and it was just very bitty and a lot of stop-start. Not much to really write home about, to be honest.
And the second half was. I said this sounds like it's going to be a long half, quite early doors. And
it was like 10 minutes of stoppage time.
Yeah.
That was the literal. I should have done it. But again, it felt listening like a battle. What was it like being there? Sarah, do you want to? You saw the second half, surely.
It's pretty much the same as what I saw in the first half, really. It was. I think we were kind of spoilt last weekend because we had a great performance at Mansfield, and then although beating Newport, that wasn't a classic. At least we won. It wasn't the best game of football to watch, to be honest. Like Dan said, it was a bit bitty. It was a bit kind of. I gather that according to stats, possession was fairly even, but it was like more. It was just like both sides just wanted to give the ball away to each other all the time, and no one really got into it. And there weren't. I don't know how many shots were on target, but really not very many.
I think you might have fingers left over on one hand if you tried to count.
Yeah, and I do have hands.
We had. I think we had more possession. I think that might have been the first time I've ever seen our possession stats slightly higher. And I was like, they got that wrong. But Matt made a very good point on the penalty, which was, as Dan, I know you said we were handed a lifeline here and we missed it. But Matt kind of said, well, had he scored this week and missed last week, we would have been 1 point worse off. Because we would have drawn last week and drawn this week, so we'd have been 1 point worse off. So when it comes to it, if you want your one to be missed, maybe okay, we've done it the right way around and we can just move on.
That's a very good point. I'm going to remember that. It'll make me feel a lot better.
And obviously, it happens to us all the time where we're playing teams who identify, oh, we should definitely win that, and then suddenly they pull this rabbit out of the hat, and they've been brilliant the last couple of games. So they've now got 7 points out of the last possible 9. So actually, it was probably one of the harder games in hindsight, but they're safe now. And it wasn't a pleasant game. There was some unpleasantness, which we've already discussed. And their player, I think, was sent off. I said to you, Dan, I think it was someone had said he'd gone into the crowd, but actually, I think he said something to the referee.
Yeah, I think the initial thing that was over celebration or something, which is stupid. But it turned out that I think it was Oaksey was on our train back, and he back into Barrow, and he said that it was dissent. It's just something. So it just gobbed off at the ref, which is a bit daft, really. You've just scored, so he's trapped off and got a second yellow for it. Yeah,
based on nothing other than knowing football players, where Barrow had that goal disallowed, that was crossed the line or didn't cross the line, and what players are like with referees, I would imagine the word cheat was used, and therefore that's where the refs gone. Nah, they don't like that at all. But we move on, and we move on to the next game, which is Tuesday. And joining us now is Sam, who is a Crawley Town supporter. Hiya, Sam. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Very well, thank you. So you are from the Crawley Town Supporters Alliance, is that correct?
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
Yeah, so do you want to tell us a little bit about yourselves and how important you're going to be now in the next, 6 months, depending on how it goes, but...
Yeah. We're a supporters trust. So most clubs have a supporters trust. So we're called Crawley Town Supporters Alliance. With the new owners obviously joined us a couple of weeks ago, we're going to have a busy few months ahead, kind of getting to know them, getting to know their plans. Obviously do some work in the community as well. But that's a little bit about us.
Yeah, cool. And obviously the first thing you're going to learn and teach us all is what the hell is an NFT?
I knew you were going to ask me that. And I'm not going to tell you because I've got no idea.
So what's the thoughts amongst Crawley fans about this? What are you feeling?
I think initially there was quite a lot of anxiety and apprehension around what is an NFT, what is crypto, how's the club going to be funded. I think what has been quite good to see is the new owners have been quite transparent on social media and other media outlets, kind of their faces out there, they've spoken a lot. And I think as time's gone on, that apprehension has probably turned to a bit of excitement and a bit of optimistic thinking around what could happen next season, especially with their kind of clear ambition to get into League One within 2 years. So I think we're looking. We haven't met them yet as a supporters trust, and they're still in America, the owners. But there's some of the investors over here. I think at the end of next week they're due to come over and start meeting people and talking to people face to face, if you like. So I think we'll get to know a bit more about them in the off season. But I think I'd say quite cautiously optimistic is the phrase I've used quite a lot over the last few weeks around what could happen. Obviously, we are one of the smallest football league clubs in the EFL. We did have a 3-year spell in League One, but our gates aren't great, and I think as much as it'd be great to get in League One, I think what a lot of Crawley Town fans would like is to kind of see our fan base grow, and how can we do that? A bit of infrastructure. We haven't got our own training grounds, so what can we do about that? But yeah, it'd be great to have another crack at promotion. We've had a few seasons sitting in the mid-table of League Two, which the majority of Crawley fans, although would have probably liked to have a bit of flirtation with the playoffs, would have taken because of the size of our club. If you look at the clubs that have been relegated recently, the Chesterfields and Notts Counties, Oldham this weekend, there's some big clubs that have been relegated and finished below us in the league. So, but yeah, I'd say exciting times ahead, hopefully.
Yeah, and probably a new manager.
Potentially.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shocker because social media accounts love him. He's always good for a little quote, isn't he?
Yeah, I think we've got to be really, really careful at the moment because we haven't heard anything from the FA or the PFA. It's literally a Daily Mail article, and the club have reacted how they've reacted, which I think only time will tell whether that's the right thing to do. I think when you have that sort of allegation, you do need to suspend the individual while the investigation takes place. We've got no idea where that's come from, whether it's a current player or a previous player. We've got no idea what the remarks are. So I think, yeah, Johnny's a character, but I think we've got to be very careful about innocent until proven guilty of these sort of things. And obviously, football business is very much in the public eye. So I think it's going to be a very difficult few weeks. And I think we need to think about John as well, because ultimately it's John's career and profession and reputation on the line as well. So he needs to have a fair hearing, which we as a supporters trust will want to make sure that the club do have a fair and consistent hearing for John, and the process is followed correctly by the FA, the PFA, the EFL and the club to make sure that the outcome is fair and right for all.
Perfect. Right, all controversy out the way. How's the season been gone for you?
Yeah, okay. I think we finished 12th last year, and we're going to probably finish 12th again this season, so it's okay. We haven't had the biggest budget. We've had a hell of a lot of injuries, key players at key times. We've gone on kind of a couple of runs, which we think, oh, here we go. We can get in the playoffs, and we lose 2 in a row. Haven't really done much in the cup. So I'd say average probably. Cool. But as I said earlier, with some of the teams that have struggled this season, like the Bradfords, Leighton Orient, where sort of teams below us, teams with bigger budgets than us. So, yeah, I'd say okay. Looking forward to beating our new closest rivals on Tuesday.
I was just going to say, how's the feeling that it's taken 10 years or so for us to join you, and then we're going to just bugger off straight away?
Yeah, hopefully not. I think interesting with us, we haven't really got any rivals in the Football League. We've kind of had a bit of rivalry with Wimbledon just because we were trying to get out of the conference together and they're nearby, but now obviously they're in League One, but they'll come back down. But we haven't really got many local games. I mean, Stevenage is normally the most local game. So as much as you guys want to go up, we kind of want you to stay down because it'd be quite good to have a nice little rivalry again this season. And the game at our place in October was a cracker. Obviously, I know you guys won it, but it was a great atmosphere. You guys brought loads. Obviously, you got the Matt Gray and the Enzio being former manager and player at your place. Even like Louis John and Rob Milson used to play for us as well. So I think, I'd like to, from personal point of view, keep that rivalry going next season. But I know you guys obviously won't want to be here next season.
I'll hand over to these guys on this because I have shocking football knowledge and memory, but I don't actually think we've played that much over the years.
No, I think...
No, everyone's shaking their head. I've got another thing right. Write it down today again, another thing right.
I think once in the 90s in the cup.
Yeah.
Is it like the League Cup, Isthmian League Cup?
No, we played them in the FA Cup at ours in about 95, 96, I think it was.
I think that was just before I started coming regularly. But I still was in the League Cup as well.
Because they had David Speedy in the side at the time. So he was getting loads of stick from the Coventry game. But yeah, I seem to recall that I think Billy Smith might have been the manager, the Old Carl Shorten manager down there at the time.
Yeah, he was manager. Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, that's that up until sort of earlier this season. I think that was the only time we'd ever met competitively, I think. We definitely played a couple of friendlies down at Crawley, but that was it.
It's quite weird how little we've played each other, actually. Yeah. It's like AFC Wimbledon, who we have actually played quite a lot, but because they're quite local to us, but we missed each other. We went down when they went up, and it would be quite funny if that happens again.
No, it would be.
I'm very much hoping that just for the fun bit. I don't really care what happens after that, but it'll be fun.
Oh, they found on my train last night coming back from Fleetwood. They were really very quiet.
There was loads of Wombles on the train up yesterday as well, and they were, I think, almost to a man. They were like, "No, we're doomed." There was one guy who was like, "No, we're going to win today," and everyone else was like, "No."
Have you seen Nick's free kick? That
silly boy.
I wanted to say something, but I can't. He's going to be feeling awful. But I'm not going to retweet that. I'll leave that alone.
It was definitely an mate kind of moment when he did it.
He literally was like, "Yeah, I'll just make myself some space." Oh, hang on.
It's a free kick. Can't do that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we love you, Wimbledon, really. So, what are our thoughts ahead of Tuesday? Going to be a cracking game, or is going to be another one of these enduring 90 minutes?
The thing is, this league is so inconsistent, and like everyone around us is really inconsistent. And I'm finding, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm finding it harder to predict games than I have done any other season. And like technically, Crawley don't have a lot to play for apart from their contracts. So I don't think anyone we've got left now does really. Actually, it was yesterday was the last team who they were fighting relegation. So who knows? It could go. It could be like we have something to play for and they don't really. So might be one of those ones where we come out, with really going for it. I really hope it is.
Dan, what do you reckon?
I think we need to play a bit more sort of like we did at Mansfield than we did at Barrow yesterday. Need to get into the game and just get a foothold and just start on the front foot like Matt likes to, and just get in and get in early. If we don't, then it's just. I think it could be one of those games that either just meander away to nothing, or you'll just end up losing because you've not applied yourselves. So yeah, if we start well, I think we can see it through. But
I'm hopeful of the 3 points. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah, I always diplomatically go for I'll take a point, but I don't know. It's a tough one because people go about sides being on the beach at this time of the year, and I don't really believe that. They've got new owners, so there's going to be quite a few lads there trying to impress. Just like Sarah said, playing for deals. So you never know. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a bit more of a tough watch than we'd like.
Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think before yesterday we were top of the form table, so obviously we got turned over, if you like, but Mansfield, they're much the better team yesterday. But I think we'll be well up for it. Local derby, there'll be about 400 or 500 Crawley fans, as you guys have mentioned. Deals up for grabs, and I think we'll love to derail your promotion, but even if we only get a point. So, and then do you know what Crawley do over the last couple of years? They lose when we expect to win, and we win when we expect to lose. We do it all the time. We win at the big teams. We were the first team to beat Forest Green on our own patch this season. We won at Bradford. So, yeah, we're in the big games. We always turn up. But, I just want to derail your promotion bid. Whether that's a draw or we win, I don't really care.
Are we a big game?
Well,
Yeah.
in terms of, I mean, I can imagine it's the same for you guys. You're not much further north than us. I mean, for the away games that our players have to do, get on that bus and go to Barrow, go to Carlisle, go all the way up north, Oldham, Scunthorpe. They must think, blind. But for a local game, a lot of our players live in South London and around London, so they'll be bang up for this. I think absolutely bang up for in front of it'll be a noisy night from home and away fans. I think they'll want to put in a performance in front of us because we don't normally travel away in great numbers really, but we'll have the opportunity to on Tuesday night.
Well, I actually think it's also going to be a good game because I think, as I said, we had the Wembley thing where we had a load of people going, yeah, do you know what? We'll pop down Gander Green Lane, and we've served up some very difficult football since then. And I think tonight, some of those people are going, do you know what? Not tonight, sorry, Tuesday. I'm not going to bother. It's a Tuesday night. I'm not going to bother. And I think it's going to be a great game that makes all those people go, I will go on Saturday again just to make sure. So, yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be a great game. I think we're going to... Sorry, Sam, we don't lose many games back-to-back. So I think we've lost 2 games back-to-back in, I think, once in 2 years or something like that.
Yeah. Matt's sides rarely lose back-to-back. So
yeah. So we will, we're going to be well up for it. Sorry. I'm not that sorry, to be honest. But I think that's pretty much come full circle now. I think we've done everything we need to do. I'm just checking my very professional list. Yes, I have done everything. Oh, amazing. Thank you for all your time. Thanks for eventually joining us, Dan. That was nice silence early on.
Some would say that's their state.
And Sarah, thanks a lot. And obviously, I know you will, but keep us posted on any of her Game 2 stuff and any announcements. Just literally pick up the phone and here we are. I know Dan will be retweeting everything as well. So there's loads of support here as well. Sam, good luck apart from Tuesday. Hopefully the new owners do surprise us all. There is a lot of scepticism in football. It may be that we've got this wrong. I know with the Wrexham thing, everyone was like, oh yeah, it's just going to be a big joke, but they seem to have taken to it well. So
I think they've learned from the Bradford thing because that was a bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do seem to have learned a lot of lessons from that.
Yeah, like my offer to buy Buckingham Palace, I've sent an email saying, can I buy Buckingham Palace, please? No, you can't. Oh, well, I put a serious offer in. But no, hopefully it all goes well for you, obviously outside of Tuesday and potentially if we meet next season as well. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Join in at any of the socials at Sutton Podcast. Drop us a line. Anyone who wants to jump on as guests, give us an email, mike@suttonpodcast.com. Take care, and we'll see you all, or I won't see you. I'll speak to you all next Wednesday, I think it is. All right. Take care. Thanks a lot, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.
See you later, guys.
United! United!